Hi everyone, it's Miss Lau again, and today we're going to continue working on our clay whistles. For my whistle, I'm making this lizard with wings, so I have the head right here. I put on eyes, eyelids, and I even dented the sides of the nose to make the nostrils. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make a mouth. If you want your animal to have a mouth that's open, one thing you can do is you take a tool and you very gently can roll the tool alongside to make a mouth. One thing I can do also is very gently, I can cut open the piece so now it looks like the mouth is open. If you want it to be smiling, you can carve it so it looks like it's smiling as well, just like that. So now that this is ready to be attached, I'm going to scratch and attach. This can go on however I want. So if I wanted to, I could angle it upwards like this, or I could put it flat and flush like that. So here's my serrated rib. I'm going to scratch the head. I'm going to scratch the body. Take some slip. Put it on the two pieces. And then push them together. You can see the seam, just like with the mouthpiece. So what I have to do, I have to roll a reinforcing coil. So every time you attach something, you have to scratch and attach it with slip, and then roll a little reinforcing coil. Because my lizard's neck is in line with its body, I'm going to roll a slightly thicker coil, and I'm going to wrap it around its head. And then, just like before, I blend the clay into the two parts that's being attached. So I'm blending it into the body and then blending it into the head. I'm going to check to see if there are any more gaps anywhere. And there are. So I need another reinforcing coil for the bottom. Again, the reason why we use a reinforcing coil is sometimes as the clay dries, the pieces that are being attached decide that we don't want to stay together. So the reinforcing coil or the reinforcing clay just helps them bind together. So you can still see the clay from my reinforcing coil, so I can use my sponge, and I just ran it under the sink. It's not soaking wet, so if I squeeze it, no water comes out. It's just damp enough that I can smooth the clay of my piece and blend that new clay into the two parts that I was attaching. And there we go. For my clay whistle, I want to add legs, but before I can add my legs, I have to actually poke a popsicle stick through the mouthpiece and then cut the bottom so that my whistle will work. This part I'm going to do for you guys just because it can be a little bit tricky and it will sound like this. So if you see a popsicle stick inside your clay whistle, do me a favor, please don't wiggle it, please don't move it, but leave it right there. It is so important that the angle of the opening and the angle of the mouthpiece is lined up so that your whistle can work. So leave it like this, please. So what I need for my whistle still is I need to make the tail so that it's curved, because right now it's flat. I need to add legs, and then I need to add wings. Right now this is the base of the tail, but what I want to do is I want to make a part that kind of curves up. So I'm going to take my clay, and I'm going to leave it a little bit thicker than usual, so I'm not rolling out so thin that's like a reinforcing coil. And what I want to do is taper the end. A taper is when something gets skinnier. So for the end of the tail, I want it to be skinnier, but then at the end where it connects to the mouthpiece, it needs to be thicker so that I can blend that clay. After I've rolled it out as a tapered cone, I'm going to very gently start bending it into a swirl. If I try to bend it really hard, it's going to crack. And even right now, my clay has some cracks in it, but if I were to be a little bit more aggressive, it would crack even more. So I'm going to be able to smooth this all out with a sponge. So I've got some cracks right here. I'm going to take a sponge with a little bit of water in it and then smooth it out. It's like magic. Check it out. We're going. Perfect. So then I have to figure out where I want my tail to go. So it's going to look a little goofy until I blend it, but I have to imagine how the tail is going to sit on top. So the way I want to attach it, because it's not going to sit on top like this, but it's going to sit flush with my mouthpiece, what I have to do is I have to cut it. And you can always rip the clay, or you can just blend it off or trim it off later. But I just cut my clay, so you can see I've got this piece that used to be attached. I just cut it at an angle so that it can sit on top like that. So what do I gotta do? Scratch and attach. Scratch the piece it's going onto, scratch the piece that's being added, and then to attach it, take some slip, you guys know how it goes, and then squish the pieces together, like that. And then to blend it, I'm going to be extra careful of the popsicle stick. If you accidentally move the angle of your whistle or the mouthpiece, it's not going to work the same. So I'm going to be very careful. Since my fingers are not quite small enough to blend it, I'm going to use a tool to blend it instead of my fingers. And actually, this piece looks pretty good. I don't need a reinforcing coil today, just because I'm adding such a large piece of clay, and after I'm done smoothing it, there's actually no seams, so I think it's all good.